So the general idea, Sean, is that we have this history with the forum. So 950 or so member organizations, mostly from the communication space. And in the last 2 to 3 years, we have been expanding out into other industries like health, banking, smart cities, even things like insurance, because everybody's getting digitized one way or the other. And when we're taking a hard look at all these opportunities to taking the forum forward, we were starting to look at what can we bring to our current constituency, which were mostly the communications domain back then. So what can we do for them and to take them into the future, because they are getting digitized and they are opening up their ideas into other domains as well. So we were looking hard at these options, and smart cities became the first natural steps for us to take. So we're trying to bridge our community with the community of smart cities, so to open some doors in that space, and frankly, when you look at it, communication providers and their vendors, they are playing a big role in creating smart cities today, because they're all underpinned by ICT and communications in the end.
And I know this is a question you probably get a lot. In fact, I think I've seen you answer it on video before, but what is a smart city? What are we looking for? What makes a city smart?
So I think to make it simple, it's probably 3 things. Livability for citizens, which really means just enjoying life, living in a city. Workability for businesses, which really translates into creating startups, attracting R&D, getting the right kind of people moving into your city. And thirdly, sustainability, which is really around making it possible to operate the city in an efficient way, so that you can actually you don't have to bother so much with congestion or health issues or civic unrest and so on and so forth. So really those 3 things: livability, workability and sustainability. And then you can always, as a city, you will probably put your focus a little bit differently. Some cities will put their focus on maybe the livability aspect, while others they're sort of forced to focus on the sustainability aspect as an example. So for us, we tend to focus more on the livability aspect. How can we make life easier for citizens, better for citizens? How can we strengthen communities using ICT and communication technologies? I can actually borrow sort of a statement from earlier in the conference today, which is think big but start small, right? So first think big. How can you actually do something that has the potential of becoming big, but start small? Maybe you could start with a street, or you could start with a small community, or you could start with a stadium, or you can start in a school. But if you make sure that idea has the potential of actually being expanded laterally and horizontally, then there is a chance of actually making an impact as well. So that would be the first advice. And the second advice would probably be not to be sort of blindly going after technology, but actually taking a step back and thinking about, so whom are we doing this for? Who will benefit from it? And if you can start translate that into benefits and outcomes, you can fairly quickly start to translate it also into tangibles like ROI. So even if it doesn't pay immediately, if you have a plan on how you can start small, and that investment is really small as well as a consequence, then you can scale it up.
Okay, so you look for incremental ROI to fund the next step.
I think that's the only chance that councils have in order to fund anything at all. And the other aspect of it, of course, is to think hard about what should we as a city do versus what should other people do. So thinking of a city as an enabler platform rather than as the entity that needs to develop everything themselves. So if you as a city can provide this enablement layer and give others the opportunity to innovate and make money, then you are better off. And unleashing that innovation, that's kind of where I think an organization like the Forum has a role to play, because right now cities they are local, right? Because cities are local. But if they don't share a global approach to solving problems, they will forever be forced to adopt local solutions as well. So what we want to do is we want to push this global solutions agenda, whereby cities can start thinking, right, so if we are, say, publishing open data, why don't we do it in a similar way? Because that means if if we have say an application developer in another city that does something fantastic, we can just import that innovation to our city and vice versa. We can export things that happen here. And if you just imagine two groups of cities, one group of cities that does it that way, and the other group that just, we do it like we always did in our local best effort kind of approach. This first group of cities that actually collaborate to do it using a shared base will, I promise, in 5-10 years from now, they will be miles ahead of this other group of cities. And then we will start to see a real digital divide happening, not just between people inside of cities, but actually between cities as well. So hacks are run kind of around the world and for different reasons everywhere. We try to run hacks as a way to combine open data with open APIs and open standards. So we bring part of what our members bring, people like IBM and Ericsson in this case, and the open APIs from TM Forum. And then we marry that together, or actually the people who are there, they marry it together with open data. In this case, open data from the city of Nice and I believe the city of Santander. So what they were able to do was to come up, you sit down, you come up with, and the focus here was sustainability and smart city. So coming up with a number of different concepts and trying to vet those in the room, and then actually moving ahead and actually building something. So we had, I believe, 7 different teams that actually got to the point where they presented a finished solution to judges. And finally, and they were from sort of different parts, like energy savings with electric cars in cities, pollution examples where you can sort of jog in the right place and know where to go and where not to go based on real-time data, to the winning example in this case, which was around garden sharing, how you can grow ecological food actually on rooftops and things of that nature here in Nice. So it was a local sort of setup for the city of Nice that won it this year.
And that's almost like a ride share model. I have this plot of land. Can I match myself with someone who would like to garden on it?
Yeah, and I think that goes right into the sharing economy, which I think is so interesting, right? Where you can start to share not just hotels or taxis, but you eventually start sharing other things like gardens or your home cooked meal or your dishwasher or whatever it may be. And all these sharing applications and sharing approaches, they are actually coming quite fast. And I think that's one part of it. And the other part kind of this sharing economy is what you can do to sort of strengthen the local community. I think sharing is something that strengthens local communities as well, right? Because when you share something, you open yourself up to engage with others. So this whole evolution is something that we see in our hack. We saw it in our recent hack in Lisbon. We saw it here, and I'm sure we're going to see it in the next hack as well.
It's almost a microcosm of TM Forum's emphasis on open data. If you can get more eyes on the same set of materials, you can come up with something novel.
Yeah. So, for instance, what we are going to do, we're going to do a workshop here on Wednesday, focused on the economy of data. So we're combining the TM Forum open APIs around digital partnering with the Fiware city contextual APIs. Fiware being championed by the European Union as providing city contextual APIs. So you'll know everything about the city through those APIs. But if you combine them with the Forum APIs, you can then start transacting data in an economy of data model. So it will allow, for instance, an application developer to access data, not just from the city, but from other third-party sources as well. Some of them paid for data sources. And then mash up a service that is using this free data and paid for data, and then monetize it in different ways. So actually providing that framework to be able to move ahead into this economy of data economy, that is something we are doing together with people like Fiware and organizations like Fiware, with the aim of actually doing it across the board, finding a global best practice that could later develop into a standard. I sort of see it from a couple of different perspectives. When I try to compare what people do well in different parts of the world, I found that we are, say in our Western societies, we are somewhat struggling with top-down decision making and making rolling out the solution broadly across, say, a city. If you compare to, say, Asia, where you could have a stronger top-down direction and actually succeed with something that goes across departments more easily than here. On the other hand, if you look at some of the examples we see from cities in the US, they are good at connecting to social networks, if you like, to places where the citizens are. So rather than trying to get citizens to come to your application or your environment, you could share data with applications that actually are already in use by citizens. So you could share, for instance, information about where in the city you have developments or things that are being planned or things like parking spaces that are available. So if you share that with applications that people already use, then that's another way of being a smart city. So this kind of combination of a top-down and a sort of a bottom-up approach, when I think about what people are doing really well, I think people are doing things well, but in different places of the world. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of a combination of these things happening in parallel. So streamlining the city sort of from a top-level perspective, but at the same time connecting with citizens using their favorite means of communication. Well, I was part of the research behind I was interviewed as part of that, but yeah, there's always a risk. If you do something early, you're absolutely always at the risk of having to backtrack a bit and do something differently. One such example, for instance, could be deployment of sensor networks. It may turn out that you don't need sensors to tell you things, that you could get people's phones to tell you instead for free, right? So there are examples of where it might be a bad idea to actually do things. However, if you don't step into the pool, you're never going to learn to swim either. So, yeah. So you sort of have to do it.
A clear risk, but you need early adopters.
Yeah, be sensitive with the choices you're making and for what reasons you're making them, and try to have a long-term vision that actually strives towards becoming more of this enablement layer, and be ready to reevaluate and reassess. Fail fast is probably better than not trying at all. Well, for one thing, I suppose for somebody like me who has been in the communications world for a long time, you do things behind the scenes that nobody really notices or sees. But for cities, everybody can feel it. Everybody can smell it and taste it and see it in action. So maybe that's the most compelling part. It actually does affect people's lives immediately. So if you do something in a city that actually changes people's life to the better, you can see the results of your work. It's sort of more fulfilling than it otherwise would have been. I say that personally for me, that would be the big difference. But I think one of the key takeaways will be this global and versus local aspect, that it's not good enough anymore to go for local solutions to what is really a global problem. So even if cities are local, they need global solutions. And if they're going to get there, they need to collaborate with one another to actually achieve that. I think that will be one of the key kind of conclusions out of this. And we are also going to, we have a number of hooks into the future that ride sort of on that theme as well from a forum perspective.